Hello, this is Bridget Rau with Divine Essentials. Hello, this is Starseed Shaman Podcast and Bridget Rau singing the song. Some of you who may be coming in from other areas or places, I have YouTube channels, and the song came about randomly one day when I was doing a reading, and sometimes I do just randomly sing. Sometimes I will sing words instead of saying them. And that happened, and that song created itself, and everybody who heard it loved it, and it became like a, you've got to do this now. Even when it first came about, anybody who had clicked on a reading that was posted prior to it becoming a thing, there was no song, and they would be like, where's the song? Like, it wasn't born yet, I'm sorry. And it's basically become part of my opening. So if you're wondering why the song is a song, that's why. And I just do what I feel, or well, what I'm told to do, basically, because they demand it. But anyways, this is the second episode of Starseed Shaman Podcast, and I recently put out a post, and I asked, what type of topics would people want to hear about, and a recurring one has been mission, purpose, doing that mission and purpose stuff for your career, and then, of course, twin flames, and then starseeds. And somebody recently said starseed twin flames. So for myself, it's one and the same for me because of just who I am and how I awoke, and my own personal experience with all of that stuff. I don't look at them as being the same exact thing, and I don't think that everybody out there who claims that they are one or the other are either or, and some are one and maybe not the other, and some may be one of these and don't even realize that they are one of the others as well, meaning like somebody could be a starseed and not realize that they do have a twin flame, or somebody could be a twin flame not realizing that they are a starseed, and then some people could be a starseed but they're not a twin flame, and so on and so forth. However you want to look at that, I do think that there is very many souls here, and that each one has its own purpose, has its own reason for being, and has its own parts of their story or their mission or their creation, and why that's here and why they're here and what they're supposed to do with it. And it all ties together in the end. When I think back over my awakening and the things that were brought to my awareness, almost like I didn't have a choice. And then how everything in my life leading up to, and all of the stuff that I was doing during the time of my awakening, all the things that I learned, taught myself, was trying to create or do or like find or navigate through, all seemingly at one point or another came back up or made sense later on as to why I would do that. So wherever you are, whoever you are, whatever you're doing right now, there's probably a reason for it. Sometimes it's glamorous and beautiful and amazing. Most of the time it's just life. And then occasionally there is something orchestrated that we have, but the only person that could probably really look at that and figure that out is going to be yourself. And many people, I think, have a hard time with that, because I get a lot of people who come to me and will ask, Like, who am I? Or what am I doing? Or what am I supposed to do? Or how should I do? Or where should I be? Or who should I talk to? And, they want someone else to guide them or tell them how to be, or where they should be, or what they are supposed to do, and how to do it, and with who, and all of that. And I don't believe anybody else can or should really be doing that for anybody. Yes, we can go and get help and support, but ultimately, you're the only one that should be making that call in your life. Because when you don't, like, say you come to me and you're like, you dump all of that responsibility onto me. Well, who am I? What should I do? Who should I love? Where am I going? Bye-bye. And I give you all these answers and guide you and bring you on some whatever. Here you go, do this, now do that, blah, blah, blah. When something doesn't go right, or all of a sudden you decide you don't like what you're doing, or who you're near, or what's happening, who do you think you're going to blame? Who do you think you're going to point the finger at and be like, projection, projection, projection? Because at the end of the day, it was you who went along with it all, decided, oh yeah, that sounds like the right thing for me to do right now, and did it. But a lot of times I think that's why people look for someone else to tell them what they should do, where they should be, and who they should do it with, and all of that, because they want to point their finger at someone else, just in case. Like, in case this shit don't work out, I can point at you and say it's your fault. And I've had people in the past who kind of like did it to me at varying degrees. Some people came closer or were more manipulative in the way of like asking for that information, and it was not like, it wasn't recognized at the front of things, like, oh yeah, that's what they're doing right now. They're trying to get me to be the one that calls the shots so that they can later on blame me when the shots don't go. And we all do it. We all have probably done it or do it at some point in our life, especially because we grow up with parents that are supposed to kind of give us direction or show us the way. I think for myself, I didn't really have that in the way that some other people may have, or I just was more independent or more stubborn about when I set out to do something or decided on. It was like, okay, that's what I'm doing, and I'm going to do it fully, and then maybe I'll do something else and something else. And I do that, which is not good, because it's like, hey, yeah, you just made like an amazing thing happen, and it's getting better, and it's getting bigger, and it's getting awesome. And then I'm like, all right, awesome, I'm going to screw it up now and do something else. Because I don't know, I feel like I hit a place where I'm like, okay, I'm happy with my achievement, let me try another one. It's weird, I don't know why, I do, but I do. And it's usually not like the smartest thing to do, because then you have a lot of stuff happening, and it gets to like a place where it could continue to go really great, but then I changed my whole direction and started over and do that again, again and again. It's like, yeah, you got some things under your belt now. You've successfully done that, and that, but then you walked away from it, and why? So I don't recommend doing that. I don't recommend going and finding your guru or somebody that's going to be the answer giver, provider, because you'll find people out there who will happily give you answers and tell you who's what and why and where to be and all that shit. And they don't look at it like you're looking at it, probably. They could be somebody that maybe you go and you get a reading from them every week religiously, and they're like, there are people out there who will just like fucking just make it up. They don't care. they're not looking at it as like, oh, this is someone's livelihood and relationships, and they don't care what happens after the 20, 30 minutes that they gave to you. They go to the next client, the next client. I become somebody that's like way too emotionally invested into things. I feel bad if I don't like know for sure. I feel bad if I have to tell somebody something that I don't really feel like is going to be accepted on like a, wow, that's great info to know about. I'll take a 20-minute reading and turn it into a 3-hour freaking event because I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry that this isn't wonderful news. Say somebody is like asking about a person that they feel, and they give me the details about the person, like, oh yeah, so like I met this person and they've been beating the crap out of me for like the last 10 years and they are, you know, addicted to this, that, and the other thing, and they have cheated and they've done this and they've done all these bad, horrible, toxic, not good things to this person. All of the like things that would be like, that's not good, that's probably not a good person for you to have around. But like they'll be like, is that my twin flame? and first of all, I don't confirm or deny any of those things for people, because you're, again, the only one that should confirm or deny those things. But those are some pretty clear things. Like if somebody's beating you up, if somebody's physically harming you, if somebody's just treating you really, really badly, they're probably not going to be a divine counterpart. A divine counterpart will challenge you to become a better person. They may not always do it in the best way, because we're human and we make mistakes and we do stupid stuff sometimes. Sometimes our ego gets in the way. Sometimes our ego gets bruised and we react because of that. But if they are physically harming you, or harming you so badly that you are becoming worse, or your life is becoming detrimental because of them, don't think that's a divine. Now, there could be a part where some things fall apart for you, and you may look at it as, my life is getting worse, but it may be falling apart to come together. But that type of stuff usually does kind of go along with like your karmic things as well. So for me, I had my spiritual awakening, lost everything. It was like, wake up, bitch, because you're about to lose everything. And that's what happened. But I was in a karmic, toxic relationship at the time. I knew who my twin was, and it was actually that in the back of my head of knowing that like I was going to get out of there. And I was going to be able to, you know, see my twin again. Like, that kind of gave me the strength I needed to get through that part of the situation. And there was some pretty dark times. There was like a 6-month period after I had woke up. I went to Reiki 1. And after Reiki 1, I went into like the deepest, darkest dark night of the soul. I didn't leave the basement for 6 months. I didn't do much except for just sit and sulk and like want to die. And then I don't even know how I got out of that, but I finally did pull out, and that's when I started like bartering and working with a Reiki place in my nearby. And then I went and worked with another one, and I built and built and built and built and built. And I just knew somewhere along the way things would change. And they did. And it was also me employing things that I was learning. You know, like, oh, gratitude. Okay, we use some of that. Oh, affirmations. All right. Oh, like changing your mindset is huge. And energy balancing and working in the energy and showing up for yourself and blah, 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 doing all the stuff. I was doing it. For 4 years I lived in that basement. But I think that was creating my 4-year foundation of what was needing for me to get out. And then the universe was like, all right, you're ready. And they took him and removed him from the situation, because I was never going to get away with him around. He was not going to let that happen. He didn't even really want me. He just didn't want me to go away. Like, it was more of a control. You belong to me. I don't even want you, but you belong to me. Okay. And then not only did they take him away and put him in jail, where he still is, they brought my dad out of jail. And we're like, here you go. He's going to help. Because probably the dynamics that I had with him as a child. And when I was 4 years old, he left. Him and mom had split up, and I took that very hard, and I thought that it was my fault, and there was a whole bunch of stuff that went along with it, but he was gone. He wasn't gone entirely from my life, but he was not there in the day-to-day, everyday, here's your dad. So I feel like a lot of the problems that I created or had in my relationships with men or boys or guys along the time that I've been alive stemmed from that circumstance of feeling abandoned, feeling responsible, feeling all that stuff. But they removed one and brought in him, and we started off like, okay, because he needed to rebuild himself coming out of jail. He's an alcoholic. He didn't hurt anybody. He just was stupid to himself. And then I had also had to okay, now it's time to go out and do real life stuff, because the whole time I was with that basement circumstances, I had basically fallen away from the real world. But I think it was all necessary, because if I didn't lose everything and have absolutely nothing and come from the bottom barrel, I wouldn't have gone through the ego death that I went through. I wouldn't have been humbled. I wouldn't have been looking at the more important things in life, or the more divine things that are there. I probably wouldn't be so connected to spirit. I probably, would have just fallen back into old things, ways of being, thinking, feeling, all of that stuff. What also was interesting about all of it was, because I was with somebody who was very controlling, manipulative, and weird, they didn't want me to work. They thought that if I went to work, I would cheat, because everywhere they went, they cheated. So they were projecting. But because of that, I was resourceful. I'm like, how am I going to fucking fix this problem? So I was I talked him into getting me a computer, and I used that to not only learn all I learned about soul, spirit, starseeds, lightworkers, empaths, healers, twin flames, and so on, the basics of it, and then even the logical of who I am, the numerology, the astrology, the little subtle things that I put together 2 and 2. And it's like you're coded. You are coded. You are somebody that came in on a certain day, on a certain frequency, with certain stars, with a certain name, with a certain imprint, certain stuff that's going to trigger you differently than me. And that's going to be your codex. You're going to uncode who you are by following that. And you may do it totally different than I did, but I would literally type into Google and always come back with something that was oh my God, wow. It always would bring me back to the Pleiadians. Always, no matter what. It was what the hell? It got to the point where it was oh my God. That's how I discovered the star markings with Lavendar and the Pleiadian lineup, which was literally something I had heard from my mother's mouth so many times. She was due on the 17th, born on the 18th, a minute away from the 19th. May 18th, 1984, I was born at 11:59 p.m., minute away, okay? May 15th to the 20th on Lavendar's freaking thing. She's May 15th to the 20th is part of the Pleiadian lineup, and you have these certain degrees, 25, 27, 28 degrees. that's a marking for these lineup codes where they do special mission, special project, blah, blah, blah. But she also had 17, 18, and 19 highlighted in red on a black background, all white text with those 3 numbers in red. And I almost fell out of the chair, because this is like months into me discovering the Taurus connection to the constellation of the Pleiadians, and like the thing with this and that and all the stuff that was like, oh my God, making me, believe what I was feeling. Like, because like I didn't get this information from a person outside of me. Nobody came to me and was like, hey, do you know that you're a starseed? Hey, do you know that you're a Pleiadian? Hey, do you know blah. Like, nobody did that. I did that to me. And I found it out on my own by discovering through synchronicity and through paying attention and through the subtle signs and through the experiences that I was having. And like going outside at night for freaking hours on end talking to stars. And like thinking I was nuts. And then finding other people on freaking YouTube that were like, hey, I do this weird shit outside at night, and I do this and I have that and I think this and I feel this, and I'm like, oh my God, they're doing the same fucking thing. And like there's tons of us. The first time I looked, I didn't find anybody. The second time I looked, because I looked on Facebook, for like a group or somebody out there that I could talk to. Because back before, like, YouTube channels used to be different. It wasn't like there was like a human connected to them a lot of times. It was like just like a video with words that would go by that you'd have to read, and you didn't know who posted it. And a lot of times people were anonymous because it was still at a time where it was like, that's fucking wicked taboo and weird. You're stupid. Shut up. So nobody wanted to be like, hey, guess what? I have all this information. Bridget Nielsen talked about things more openly, but I don't even think I saw her until I lived in the basement. And I had done all my research and all like the building blocks of stuff at the house, where I was in the basement at the house before we moved into the parents' house and went into that basement, and that basement was a shit show. The basement at the other house was finished. I had a tanning bed in the fucking room with me. Like, it was a nice place. When we went to the next one, it was like, oh, his parents had money, they were like well off, but like the basement was not one of those circumstances. It was like, oh, we got this from the junkyard and we just threw it down there because we don't want it. This is where we put our trash. This is where we put the broken shit, or the shit that's ugly, or the stuff that nobody wants. This is where we, like, so I felt like I was where that, like, nobody wants you, everybody's just gonna, we're just throwing you at the bottom of the steps because you're gross. So that's where I was living after the awakening, where I had gone from like being pretty comfortable and not, worrying, but I had no idea the circumstances behind what he was doing. I thought that he was doing legit things. He was not. He was stealing and lying and manipulating and being him, on a big scale. That I had no clue. When the cops came and raided the house and took him, I was like, what the hell is going on? I had no idea. I had no idea why they were there. I thought that I was like, is it they here for drugs? Like I didn't know, because he didn't do drugs, he didn't drink, like he was totally against all that stuff. So like I thought he was like a pretty decent person. But he had stole money from an elderly woman. But he also had stuff against him from the cops that did not like him because of other things that happened. So it was a compiled thing. Like, some of it was legit him being a dick, and some of it was like, we're gonna make this worse because we just don't like you. So it got big, but I had no clue. Like, like the cars and the boat and the jet skis and like the little things that we drive around, and the motorcycles, like the trips to Florida, like, that stuff. Like, I just didn't, it was just seemed, it wasn't so extravagant that it was like, wow, this is a lot of stuff. Especially because I would see what he would do. Like, he would get a car that was shitty, that he got from an auction, paint it, fix it, and sell it for a profit. Okay, cool, whatever. Seems legit. But he wasn't really doing that. He was like saying that he was doing those things, and he would like get a check from like this older woman who's a millionaire and just buy stuff and then sell it. but he wasn't really profiting, and he wasn't doing, I don't know, he was just, it was always like a mystery. And I didn't really ask that much about it because I didn't care, but yeah, that's what I came out of and went boom down into crapland, and oh my god. But I didn't grow up like, state of the art, whatever. I grew up kind of like middle class. My stepdad worked, but he was always laid off in the winters. It was always a struggle. There was times that, like, we needed food stamps, or we needed, like, we got WIC to help us get, like, milk and stuff like that. I always had what I needed, and my dad would supply stuff, like, because I think his mother loved through gifts or money or whatever. Like, she just gave him money whenever he needed, so he's really bad with money. But, like, he tried to do the same type of, like, I bought you this big huge stereo. Oh, you want your own phone line? Okay. I mean, think about a phone line in someone's room. It's not that much money. But back then when I was a kid and other kids would, like, find out that you have your own phone line and an answer machine, oh my god. Like, it was, state of the art wows. But it really wasn't, like, living high class. And there were times that we struggled, and then when I got into high school, things got pretty messed up, and I moved out really quickly. Like, I didn't even go, I went to 2 months of, like, my sophomore year, and that was it. And then I started working full-time, and then was with an abusive guy, and stuff like that. But all of the things that I went through, and all the experiences that I've had, I feel aged me quickly, like in sense of maturity and knowing and recognizing certain things that maybe other people wouldn't even ever have crossed their mind. And that time that I was waking up and figuring out, like, the stars talk and all the stuff that was connected to my name and to the birthday and to all these things and whatever, I was also trying to teach myself how to work from home, because I wasn't allowed to work. So I was, like, learning about copywriting, learning about, like, affiliate marketing, learning about building websites, designing websites. Like, I was the kid that loved the thing on like, your computers when you first get, like, oh, wow, like, this is I can paint, like, MS Paint, whatever, where it's, like, literally you just paint on a white screen, plain piece of paper is like my, I love paper. I love writing. I love drawing. I love creating on those things. So if you give it to me on a screen, if you give it to me in the real life, whatever, I'm going to want to make something out of it. And when I found Wix for websites, I was like, this is amazing. And I just started making fucking websites. The first website that I made, like, for Ape Human was actually that guy's mom, who she created, like, this thing for kids, and I made that website for them. That was the first official one. And then I started, doing that for people, like, and I made myself one, and then I made one for, I think, the son, and then I made, like, her other son, and then I made one for the woman that worked down the street from me, who had made her own. She was a healer. I find a lot of times, like, the healers, the psychic people, or the spiritually inclined, they're not usually, and they're very creative, but they're not usually great at, like, making a fucking website, or being, like, logical in the approach to it, or designing the more difficult aspects of, like, okay, I'm gonna make a menu, and the menu is gonna link to this page and that page and that page, and blah. They're not good at that. So she had a shit show happening on her website, which was, like, basically, if you think about it, okay, you're at home, you're teaching yourself this stuff. Like, I was learning SEO. Because I was doing the fullness. I don't do anything half-assed. Like, I learned all that goes, like, that's why my fucking Etsy store had 100,000 in sales, because I don't half-ass what I learn. If I learn something, I learn the fullness of it, and all the details behind it, and how to be the best at it, because that's part of, like, what happened to me as a kid. And it seemed like the harder I tried, the harder it was. I didn't recognize back then what was going on. It was like that, like, my mother didn't really, it wasn't a healthy dynamic. Like, I didn't know that that was like the problem. It was like if I had just done bad, I probably would have been better off. But I wasn't smart enough to figure that out yet. And so I have this like perfectionist thing. So when I start something, learn about something, I try to do something, I try it to the fullest fucking extent. And that's what I was doing with all of that stuff. And because of that, I was able to go and barter with that girl and be like, hey, your website is fucked. Let me fix that, and you teach me Reiki, and you teach me this, and you teach me that. And I just became her like person for everything else. Like making her events on Facebook and promoting them and like getting things out before the day of and just all of that stuff. And then another person that was in the center down, a couple miles away saw what was happening and heard about me and found me, came to that place and was like, hey, how are you? Baba, you should come do an event. I did. And then she was going to pay me to do what I was doing for the other one. So I started that. And so that was like my thing. And I made a website for the other one and the other one and the other. Like, I made a lot of websites for a lot of people. I made a lot of things or taught people things so that they would know how to do certain stuff. But not everybody has that same approach to things like I do. They don't give a shit. They just want the quick fix. They don't want to put the effort in or learn all of the little... Like, I'm never not learning. The only time I'm not learning is when I'm teaching. So that's something that if you really want to be successful at something, if you want something to work, you've got to try. And you've got to keep teaching and learning and growing and evolving. And if I didn't have my intuition, I probably would have died long ago. Like, the algorithms and blah, 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 and this and that. I've gotten to a place now where, like, I don't really have to stress so much about that. Like, I don't put the effort in that I probably should, could, would probably make better, results. But I am also not somebody that really gives a shit about, like, I don't need to be a billionaire or a millionaire or whatever. I just want to be comfortable and have food and warmth, and that's about it. But if you want to get off the ground to get to that place where you can maintain comfort and do, get by and all of that, you're going to have to put effort in the beginning and try hard to figure out all that stuff. And then trust as well. Because, like, if I didn't trust and manifest, none of that stuff would have worked. But it seems pretty freaking strange. Like, hey, he won't let you go out of the house. So you're learning all of this stuff online. Then you meet somebody that just magically needs that thing that you really like to do. Because I like designing. I like creating. I'm always on Canva. Making digital this and that. And then when you, help the person with their business, and it goes from, like, never having much going on, they're struggling, to, like, oh, wow, they're bringing in money. And then you go to another place. When they started there, it was like there was, like, a couple events a month, but not a lot. When I left that other place, there was, like, 3 events a day sometimes. And I know that person made a lot more money in that time of me being there. Like, they had to have, because they went from, like, never promoting, not doing, to then being like, all right, we're gonna, like, they used to have 2 fairs a year. They started having fairs in the middle of the other months. And they started having events on, like, multiple times a day. And more people coming in, and she was making 40% of everything that went on in there. So I know she balanced, like, she got more benefit from that stuff. But it also benefited me to meet all those people, talk to those people, learn, the ins and outs of different things. Like, if I wanted to make my own freaking center or whatever, I know I could, but I don't want to, because that limits you. My dad's like, why don't you make a store? I'm like, I don't want one, because it's like a limit. Like, you can't, like, what I do now, there's no limit. I put my stuff online and sell it to the entire world. If I do it around here, it's like one little tiny place. So I don't stay, and again, if I didn't learn all I learned with the practice places that I helped and saw and got, like, confident in the ability to do, and then that, like, little push of, like, oh, you want to screw with me and doubt me or say bad things about me? Well, I'm going to show you. And then here I go. And that's kind of how I got to be more like about showing up online and making it successful, because I was like, I knew what people were saying and thinking and whatever. So it was like almost like all right, I will prove it to you. And I did. And now once I prove things, I'm like, okay, I'm fucking happy now. Like, I don't care. But it's all interchanged, it's all interconnected. It's also ego in there. Like, obviously, like, that wasn't the greatest thing, but it was a good motivator for me to do better. And then I got sick, and I think that was because of other things. And so your personal, like, purpose and mission is going to be intertwined to who you are, when you were born, what you've been through, what you're doing, what you like to do. What do you like to do? What do you really like? It's not always gonna be that, because any job has something in it. Like, I don't really like people. I like to help people, but I don't like the people. Like, it sucks. It's like a fucking catch-22. It's like, some people are great, some people are not great. Depends on the people. Sometimes people, like, I get really frustrated with the twin flame community, because it's like, you all know, I'm sure you know, like, it depends on where you are on the freaking journey, but there's a point there where you're so self-fucking consumed that it's just horrible to deal with you. Because it's like, where's my reading? I'm a psycho. Like, just crazy persons freaking the hell out. There's nothing good happening with what's going on. You're probably driving everybody crazy in your life if you're in that, like, chaser mode, crazy mode, anxiety mode, and whoever is your person probably can't stand you. But you've got to get out of that. And I know what it's like to be there, so I do have compassion for you. But don't do the fucking crazy stuff or harass people who are going to help you, because they're going to not want to help you. I got to a point where it was like, I was resentful of the Bridget Rau channel, because there were so many of them, and they were like demanding and rude. I'm like dying, literally dying, and they're like, pick a card. like, dude, I can't. I'm sorry, I cannot. They're like, we hate you, unsubscribe. Like, oh my god. And then meanwhile, Divine Essentials channel's just like growing steadily the whole time. Look, they don't give a shit if I post or don't post or show up at what I like. They're just there for it. They're supportive. They are nice. They're like, ah, compared to like, and that's where I've been. I don't want to walk away or even categorize everybody into one thing, because it's not that. But there are people out there that are very manipulative, very low vibrational, probably karmic and toxic and not healthy. But there are other people who are not that way and who do recognize, like, the value that they receive from my time and effort that I give freely. And then there's others that don't give a shit. They probably don't even know my name. They probably don't care. They just see it as a button, subscribe or unsubscribe. And they unsubscribe. And I found out that YouTube unsubscribes people too. Just like randomly will unsubscribe you from things that you were subscribed to. And I realized that, like, I heard it, but then I realized it, like, oh wow, like, hey, I was subscribed to that channel. Where the hell is that? Like, and then I go look, and they're still out there doing their thing, but like, YouTube unsubscribed me from them. So that happens. But it was like, it's almost like a punishment. It's like, if you're not going to create content every day of the week, pick a card, then we're going to take away like a person every day of the week, I guess. So I'm still averaging like loss on the Bridget Rau channel every month. It's like down, down, down. But I'm looking at it as a purge of those people who don't give a shit, who are toxic, low vibrational, are going to manipulate what I say, are going to just hear what they want to hear, are going to demand things that are not going to support them to grow or become better or healthier. And I also looked at it as like a, like the Bridget Rau channel is like a welcome to who I am and what I do. This is like a funnel, okay? If you do marketing and all of that, there's funnels. pretty much everything online is a funnel. If you go to someone and they're like, link in bio, that's a funnel. You're bringing somebody somewhere else. It's a funnel. When they click on a link and they go somewhere, that's a funnel. Most people want to set those funnels up to be creating income. Like, hey, go to the link in my bio, go to my website, give me your fucking email address so that now I can, spam the hell out of you with whatever it is that I'm selling. I don't do that. I really don't. I don't like the whole email, like, craziness. If I send you an email, it's probably going to be encompassing as much as possible to let you know about things and not be like incessantly done, because I can't stand that. Like, I learned all the marketing stuff because I wanted to, do affiliate marketing and all of those things, and then I was like, this is horrible, toxic, not good, I can't do it. If anything, I'll probably come up with this is how we should market as a spiritual person, or as like a healthy person, or as somebody that's not manipulative and mean. Just be like authentic, be good, be nice, be whole, be like, don't for a limited time only you can have evil, bleh. Don't do it, and don't fall for it. But anyways, I talked about that last time. Those are funnels. We want people to click on our funnels, and we want to collect people into like our own stuff too, because like freaking YouTube could close down tomorrow, and there goes 15,000 on one channel and 42,000 on the other channel, and then I'm out all of that. But when you send them to a funnel where you get their email address, or they purchase something and now they're like a person in your system, you have their things. So it's your things. That's not going to go away. You own that. That's, unless there's a worldwide boom, then most likely you'll be okay. Instagram goes by tomorrow, there's go by 12,000 people, but I'll still have the people on my site. I'll still have my site. I'll still have my home base. So that is something, if you're going to build online or look for your own thing online, even if it's like a one-page website, you can build on Wix and not do the domain name and have it for free, which having your own domain name makes it a little bit more better, like in terms of Google and SEO and all of that stuff, but it's not a necessary step. It's not like you have to have that. It's just like, if you're building, you're just starting, and you don't want to pay every month to host a website, which you could probably do for like under $10, then don't pay for it. But at least create the monkey thing, what's his name, MailChimp is a free place where you can send emails to an email list. Create a one-page website for free. Make sure you collect emails. Send it, something to them. Create something that you're going to sell, or some sort of offer that you're going to give to people, whatever it is. But get something, created that belongs to you, that can't be lost if one of these big places leaves. Facebook, worldwide, pretty big place, probably not going anywhere, but you never know. They go to court and shit because they're like a monopoly that they don't want. Because money equals power, and there's certain people in power that don't want others to get there. So those things could be taken away. But if you're just a little guy somewhere with your little things, they're probably not going to take that away. So create your own stuff to have. But also know that wherever you are, whoever you are, whatever you're doing, however you're doing it, at this moment in time, is probably playing into a bigger picture at hand, and it will all make sense at some point. The things that you're good at, the things that you like to do, the things that people ask you for help with, the things you naturally resonate towards, like what do you find yourself Googling? What do you find yourself following? Like, if you're here following me and what I do, then you're probably into the same stuff as me. You probably have the same potential. We all have the same potential. But you have to figure out what it is that you really like to do and do it. And you don't have to stay the same. Like, I did Reiki, I did New Paradigm, I did the Moon Key, I did aromatherapy. Like, I have like 10 certificates from different things that I've learned, and they all blew together, and that's what I have. That's why I said divine essentials, It's all the essentials of the divine. It's like, it's not one thing, it's not this thing, it's all things divine. So it's automatic writing, it's readings, it's tarot, it's oracle, it's designing, spirit art, it's creating, blended stuff with aromatherapy, it's candles, it's magic, it's ritual, it's time, it's energy, it's effort, it's learning, it's growing, it's evolving. It's not going to be what it is today, 5 years down the road, but it's going to be something different that's evolved as I've evolved, and it's going to encompass all of the things that encompassed in what I've learned, who I am, what's been there. Like, I was 14 when I met the twin flame person, so they've just been like a current that's within the big stream of who I am. The starseed, I've been looking at the stars since I could remember. I knew who Orion's belt was back before anybody ever told me. And those are things that I figured out like later on. I was like, wait a minute, who taught me about that? Nobody. Okay, that's weird. Another little beep beep. Okay, that's strange. And my psychic-y weirdo stuff was like, hey, it's probably because when you were in the Pleiades, you were looking at Orion's belt. So, yeah, that makes sense. Because if you go and you follow Orion's belt over, it's in the eye of Taurus. And if you go a little bit further, you're going to find the, Pleiades star cluster. It's like right there, looking at it, straight in. So if you lived in the Pleiades, you'd probably be recognizing those 3 stars, which are pretty much, significant around the world. Pleiades have been talked about around the world. Orion markings, the freaking pyramids, everything has been like kind of intercoded and interconnected. I still have synchronicity come up about that, where I feel like it's like a stargate, and anybody in this part of our universe has probably, had some weird stuff with that. I think it's like encoded into us on a subconscious level because it's a big part of where we come from, who we are, where we're going, and all of that. But the subtleties, the little things, the weird thoughts that you have are for a reason. Think about them, meditate, go within, and find your way based off of what you've experienced, who you are, what you feel like you want to do, and then do it. And don't let anybody make you feel like you can't or shouldn't or aren't qualified. Because there's nobody out there who can make that happen for you except for you. Like, yes, get an education, figure things out a little bit, but don't get stuck there either, because that's something a lot of people do. They're like, I'm going to learn everything and never apply it. I'm somebody that learns and applies and learns and applies and learns and applies. Like, I don't need to go to graduate school to fucking apply what I learned. Like, just start. That's the best way to learn and grow and get better at something, is to just do it. Don't wait forever, because you're never going to be good at it if you do that. You can go learn all the concepts from all the teachers and all the ways of possibly being a person, but until you do it and actually do it consistently, you're not even going to know if you like it, or if you're good at it, or if you can get better at it, or if you will want to do that continuously. Sometimes I do a thing, get sick of it, stop doing it, come back to it, miss it, come around again. It goes with the seasons, it goes with the years. It's like, I don't know, it's weird, but I just embrace it. And that's the best thing about what I do, is like, if I don't want to do it anymore, like, I don't have to be like, I'm so sorry, I'm gonna give my 2 weeks. I just don't do it. If I want to bring in a new thing, oh, that's a good idea, I do it. I don't launch shit. I don't go crazy, like spending like endless hours like thinking and planning. I just do it. I go onto Canva, I make the stuff connected to it, post it, there it is, boom, you've got it, we're good, here we go. Like, it's not that big a deal. People make a big deal out of it because then they can charge you to do that. You don't need a designer. You don't need an expert. Everything to get started doing what you want to do. Like aromatherapy. If you're interested in making blends and oils and candles and things like that, go learn the basics and start experimenting, creating, and you'll get better at it. Magic, intention, ritual, that's all it is. It's the same, one and the same. Intentionally creating for a purpose of like, I want to manifest, so I'm going to use this, this, and this to do so. My intention is there, my physical actions are there, I'm believing it, I'm creating it, I'm doing it with a purpose, and boom, that's it. You know, get the basics of it, like, okay, what do they do? What do they do? I don't really like what that one did, but I like what that one did, so I'm going to make my own version of it. You know, be authentic, be, like, creative. Don't copycat people, but don't, you know, just be weird. Like, I'm just gonna, like, you know, take a crayon and throw it up my butt. I don't know, like, do something that makes sense, you know, like I'm gonna do this and this because it makes sense. Like I'm gonna use fire magic with my candle, and when I ignite the light of the candle, I'm igniting into my life something, or I'm transmuting something away by writing it on paper and burning it, or by writing it on paper in an affirmative way that's going to create the energy surrounding it. And I'm going to recite it every day for 30 days that, like, I am abundant, I am healthy, I am happy, I am pure, I am whole, whatever it is. And I'm going to light a candle every day when I do that. And I'm going to burn some incense because it smells good and it changes the energy and it changes the flow, and it invokes, like, beauty and niceness. And everything has its purpose and its reason. So if I get, like, frankincense, that's protective, it's divine. If I get rose, it's love. It's, like, you know, soft, loving, encompassing energy. So if I do that, I'm going to protect my love. If I, you know, get citrine, that's for confidence and abundance and woohoo. So I'm going to get some citrine in here, and I'm going to sprinkle, maybe I'll get, like, citrine dust, and I'm going to sprinkle that around, or I'm going to get some glitter that's gold because that reminds me of abundance and gold, and I'm going to put that on the top of my candle that I light and ignite into my life, because I want to have abundance of love that's protected and is confident. Oh wow, I just created a ritual of all that stuff. Like, that's all it is. You just got to be creative, basically, and embrace it. And as you go, you'll get better at it, and you'll probably invoke things that you've already done or are or have been in other lives, at other times, in other places, and you'll be pulled and drawn to those things too. Like, I'm really, like, interested in Egypt. I can't figure it out, don't know why. Probably was there before. Or maybe it's, you know, the ancient, you know, goddesses and, like, Greeks and Rome and whatever, wherever, don't matter. Whatever you're called to go, could be the Little Mermaid. It's like, oh, maybe that was a Syrian lifetime where you were a dolphin or a mermaid or whatever. Pay attention. Try to meditate. Go within. Write. Journal. Write. That is going to give you a lot of clarity about who you are, what you're thinking about, why, and what you even want, or why you're doing what you're doing. Just be honest. Stop lying to you. Stop lying to others. Stop lying to, like, you know, what you think you should be or do or want or feel or whatever, and just acknowledge your truth. Even if it's not to the outside world, acknowledge it to you, and then start to live it as much as you can authentically, on purpose, and it will get better, bigger, and awesome. But I think that's about enough for today. Hopefully that will support somebody in some way. It wasn't my base, I don't know, I wasn't really coming in to say all of that. I was gonna say something else, but I know what I say and what I do, and when I do it is always a freaking reason, so I do it. And that's the biggest thing you could take away from this, is just do. Don't think too much about it. Like, if I go, you know, sit down and, like, think about it, I will never post it, because I'm like, oh, I don't know. Like, say I go listen back to, I don't know. I will sabotage and not do it. But if I post it, there's maybe one or two people out there that are gonna, like, listen to the whole thing and be like, oh my god, thank you so much. Like, that helped me, and that's all that matters. It's the things that we're afraid to do that are going to change our lives for the better. So just do them. Okay? Inmune. Namaste.